In 2009, my son Nico and I moved to Berkeley to live with my sister. I had just finished master's programs in Massachusetts and also we just returned from helping to care for my grandmother in Tonga before she passed away. We lived on 6th Street in an apartment in Berkeley, and I would go to the marina a lot to figure out my life in this new place. I would walk by Aquatic Park to the other side of the freeway, and every time I walked over that bridge, I always saw people putting up these signs, and on the signs it would say no on 8 or like no on hate. Exactly where people have their no on 8 signs. Right here. People would go by and honk and nod. I didn't know what it meant. So when I came home, I would ask my sister, like, what's that about? And she said, oh my God, that's the biggest issue that's happening in California right now. Prop 8. It's yes against gay marriage. My sister said to me, we just watched the news last night and they showed the Yes on 8 protests at the Los Angeles Mormon Temple. I saw Tongan men and Tongan and Samoan young men shouting at gay and queer people that they're going to hell for being gay and that marriage is just between a man and a woman.
The night I came home, though, I broke down because the cherry on the top was watching the news coverage of all of us out there just shouting yes on 8.
I'm Polynesian, queer, and baptized in the Mormon Church. And of all the issues our Polynesian community could organize around, drugs, violence, gangs, education for our youth, they choose the one that is against me and my queerness.
Participated on the yes on Prop 8, so that definitely go against where I'm at now. Participated one day at Lake Merritt with hella church folks, and this is one thing I realized that was a heavy issue in the Pacific Islander community, specifically Tongan. The way they were campaigning to getting all the yate trucks and doing car parades before COVID car parades were even a thing. Like, we were already parading around this campaign, seeing all the loliates out there with yes on Prop 8. I was proud to see Tongan folks advocate on the level that I was as a youth, appreciating activism in the way that I was like, what can we Tongans do in this way outside of church? That was my first shift in understanding of like, wow, like this is an important conversation to our Tongan community. Why? I understand how faith played a role in that. After that day of campaigning, the things that I was saying, oh my gosh, I was like shouting, yes on 8. Guideline to all the cars that were coming on 580 off that exit of MacArthur with my sign, with my family. Appreciating community on that level. But then also in my gut, in my spirit was like, this is wrong. This does not feel right.
So this, even if you get married, it's still illegal with the paperwork because the marriage between only a female and a male, because they ought to raise the family. So we were like in awe, oh my gosh, that is ridiculous. So those are the ones that married already. They are gonna go to heaven, but the same sex that late to the marriage, they're gonna go to hell. So we didn't know what to do but to lay down on the street and stop the traffic on Van Ness and Market Street. Oh boy, did we stop the traffic then. I
probably denounced myself when I was 10, 2 years after my baptism, but I still attended church because it was the only place where other Polynesians organized and where my parents felt community.
So when I went from Sunnyvale, my father's place, to Auckland, I went to Auckland to live with my auntie Sokopeti Kaho. Sokopeti Kaho is Tuimala Kaho's younger sister. And she has passed away already. but to cancer. And so when I went to stay with her, she was busy over there. But I remember she told me when we first met in San Mateo, previous to that, she told me if you ever need a place to go visit, or I'm in Oakland, and my place is behind the Emporium. And I knew there was only one Emporium downtown Oakland. So when I took the bus from Sunnyvale, I had to take that on 3 buses. So there was a bus from Sunnyvale to San Mateo, and there's one from San Mateo over the bridge, San Mateo Bridge, to Hayward. And from Hayward, I have to take one from there to go to airport. And the airport, there's one that goes right in the middle of Broadway downtown. And that bus driver was like, "Where are you going?" To the Emporium, but it was nighttime already. And he said, "But it's closed already." I said, "I know, but behind it is where my auntie lives, and I need to go there." And he said, "Oh, okay, wow, okay, yeah, you're good. Yeah, as long as you know where the house is." I said, "Yes, there's only one house there. It's the cleanest house in that street, and I know it's my auntie." So he goes, "This is the Emporium. See, it's closed, but your auntie's behind it." So yeah, so I got off and I went, and she was sitting there outside. She was, "Uh-oh, hello." So he was surprised. She was surprised that I had, and she said, "What happened?" And so I told her what happened. So something happened between me and my father in Sunnyvale, ever since we came to live there. And everybody went to school, and I get to take care of my grandmother. And then we buried my grandmother when she died, but we never did agree to each other ways of living, because he's always like telling me that my walking is too feminine or something like that, or the way I talk should change, even the way I eat is wrong. So, and I knew that that's only me out of the siblings that I have there, all of us were there. The only me that I do something wrong, even walking around in the house is something wrong, that I need to correct it. So that was my first experience of the correctional facility underneath my father's roof. And the last thing he said to me, like, if you don't change that, then you shouldn't be in the same roof with us. And that right away, it got me thinking of Oakland, my auntie Sorbet, right away.
My Mormon cousin, who I was randomly staying with for like 2 weeks, she was part of it. She'd been making homophobic remarks anytime the campaign came up on the news or we drove by signs. And I bit my tongue because she was older than me, and you just gotta respect your older cousins. But one day we were driving on the freeway, and there were 2 people holding "No on 8" signs, and my cousin yelled out the thing, "Yes on 8," and then she realized I told her I was against Prop 8. And then there was an awkward silence, and then it was weird in the home, so I just left early. And anytime I brought up my experience and homophobia, she would immediately end the conversation, and she didn't want to enter. She didn't want to enter in dialogue about it. I think her strong religious beliefs and homophobia made it impossible for me to stay with her.
I'm just doing this because when I was in Olo came out of Prop 8. So we wanted to have a queer visibility of Pacific Islanders saying, no, we don't agree. We actually feel, and we felt like we had to come together so we could have that kind of power to mobilize, you know? So we couldn't do it, people couldn't do it by themselves.
Yeah.
And so that's how Olo came out. And so when I was in Olo, I always saw like, wow, I'm hearing stories that like there's a lot of suffering in our community, in our Pacifica community about Prop 8. but yet everyone is for it. And so, in every house, I mean, I will even challenge your own family that there's more than you queer in your home. And, it's just from what I've seen in the world, that's just how I've seen life is. But I mean, I've seen people who are like 10, they have 10 kids and they're the only queer person. But I think it's because it's that scary.
Yeah.
It's that scary to come out, So
we organize Olo, One Love Oceania, a queer art activist group to say no to the images proliferating in mainstream media about Pacifica people being a violent, homophobic culture. Real talk, when I was 5, I wanted to kill myself. 5. I tried to do it, and then I think that's what queer kids do throughout their life. So I think each time I didn't do it, that's like trying to accept who I am, I think every time we, decide to live when people don't want us to live, I think that's just, that's kind of when you get to choose yourself. So, yeah.
This is where I used to always hang out when we're doing this work with Prop 8. Gene and I used to walk from my apartment down here all the time.
And then it used to be like a donut shop on the Castro. It's open 24 hours. And sometimes we don't find any people that invite us to their party. We're invited ourselves to, the 24-hour donut shop and the donut there for a few hours before 6, and then we return up again to and it's packed all the time. And sometimes I listen to that song, Raining Man, and I said, that's what they meant. Back then in those days in the Castro was truly raining men. Yes. So there. And that's the memory of that time until Prop 8 came. So yeah, it was beautiful then. And then Utopia came on, Prop 8 came on, and then we were laying on the street just to, to stop the traffic so people can see us. We're laying there, not only for ourselves, but we have family to raise, and then we have to educate our little children now.
To do this kind of work is also such a work to honor the Ohlone, right? To tell our own stories as people who live here on their land is a way to honor them. Because you're showing their land in a way that you really love and care for it, so you're fighting to live in it harmoniously,
The Christian churches, the vehicle for colonization, taught Pacifica people to hate and condemn ourselves, our indigenous selves. As indigenous people, Mahu, Takatapui, Fa'afafine, Fa'atama were revered and loved. They were our family members, teachers, leaders, elders, children. They were us. We can protect and empower ourselves from the West's criminalization of us as Mahu by learning and practicing our indigenous values, like Tauhiva, working hard to care and nurture the space of relationships between us, and Aloha Aina, honoring that which feeds us, which are our loved ones, the land we live on, the indigenous people whose land we live on, our neighborhoods, and our community. Colonization took so much from Pacifica, from Wananui, from Wansalwada. Let us never let it take away how we love, how we care, and protect each other.